Well, the Women's World Cup is upon us, and here at Fox Sports Lab, FIFA World Cup, we're about to get very excited. It's going to explode in front of on our TV screens, but more importantly, it's going to be live right around the country. And Fox Sports man Robbie Slater joins me. Robbie, it is going to be exciting because it is on our home turf, so we're excited about it. But expectations are high, aren't they?
100%, Matty, and welcome to everyone who's watching, and we're going to go through this, and it is going to be massive. I think a lot of people on the periphery are going to be surprised at the enormity of this event. They're expecting over 2 billion people by the end of the tournament to have watched it, and yeah, it's first time we've ever hosted, a senior World Cup. Women's, obviously, we had a fail bit with the men's, quite disastrously. But this one we've got here, we take on Ireland tomorrow night. It's going to be absolutely huge. Of course, it's across the Dutch as well in New Zealand, but all focus will be here by the end of the tournament because this is where the final will be.
Well, a lot of focus will be on the Matildas. We'll get to them shortly. I thought we'd go through some of the main chances as far as winning the tournament goes.
Yeah.
And obviously the USA top that list. They're going for 3 in a row. They've got a blend of youth and experience, but they also have some injuries as well.
Yeah, they've got 3 injuries that were important players, but such is the depth of this squad that they're still, for me, the favourites. You got Rapinoe, you got Alex Morgan, fantastic firepower going forward. And you've got this new girl, Sophia Smith, Portland, took them to a title. She got the MVP, Player of the Year. She's only just into her 20s. She's actually going to be the favourite for the Golden Boot, along with Sam Kerr. And I do actually, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, and we'll get into this later, I think USA-Australia could be the final, so that might be a shootout as well for the Golden Boot. But America deservedly favourites, as you said, going for 3 in a row. They were victorious in France 4 years ago, 2019, and they're going for a 5th World Cup, which is obviously makes them streets ahead of every other nation in respect to winning this competition.
England is second in the market around a $5.50 mark. They've got a good midfield in Kira Walsh and Lauren James, but they've got a few key players missing from that Euro win.
They certainly have, and very key players. 4 starters from the Euro win over Germany, and the biggest miss was the Arsenal striker Beth Mead, plays with Caitlin Ford, of course, our very own Caitlin Ford for Australia. But she was the player of named the best player of Euro 2022, Beth Mead. She's out with an ACL injury. She copped that late in 2022. She hasn't been able to recover. That's a massive loss to England. They've still got a wonderful team. You just mentioned Walsh and James in the midfield. They are a couple of the best midfielders, probably with Liebenoff from Germany, of best midfielders in the world. So they've got a strong side, but I think they're slightly off when it comes to Euro 22, but they'll still be up there.
What about Spain? You look at the stats, they're next in the market, and you look at that and you go, they've never reached the quarterfinals. That surprises me from the outside looking in.
Yeah, and it does. And look, I don't think they can win it. I think they can cause lots of problems. And, confidence is an amazing thing in tournaments like these. You always get a dark horse as well. But they've got their squad is based on the Barcelona squad that won the Champions League this year. They're very, very young side, average age of 25. So there's not a lot of experience. But if they get on a roll, they've certainly got the football to make a statement in this tournament. I think they'll obviously get out of the group stages. How far they go, experience does pay a lot in big tournaments, but certainly one to watch.
We look at Germany next in the market around the $8. They've been runner-up at the Euros. When you're talking World Cups, male or female, they almost always have to come to conversation, Germany.
We always have to talk about the Germans. There's no doubt. You can never write them off. A long, long history of late goals and dramatic turnarounds. And, Germany, they've got something in, between their teeth in respect to losing that Euro 2022 final. So they've got one of the very best midfielders in the world in Liebenoff. They've got goals there. They've got one of the best defenses in the competition. So, as you say, Matty, never write off the Germans.
All right, before we get to Australia, France are next in the market. They've reached the quarters in the past 3 World Cups. But how much did you see when we just saw Australia play France and win that 1-0 in the final warm-up game? What did you make of France, in particular in comparison to us, the Matildas?
Yeah, look, I thought they looked toothless, to be honest. They had a lot of possession, but Australia, and I think Gustafsson played it very well against France, where he sort of gave up possession, sat back with a solid back 4 and the 2 Gorry and Cooney Cross in front of that back 4 screening. And France had, as I said, more possession, probably 60% of possession, but rarely looked like, well, they didn't look like scoring. I thought they could play another day and not score. And of course, we got one on the counter attack through Mary Fowler, who's a real gun for Gustafsson. That's what he's got. He's got options going forward. But looking at France, I think for their coach, Hervé Renard, who's very experienced, said it in the post-match that, this isn't the start of the competition. And he would have learned from that game against Australia that France had to be better in playing against teams that are going to defend against them deep. And that's what other teams will look at in their group, France's group. They'll say, well, they'll try and emulate what Australia did and play on the counter against France. But they got some wonderful players. Le Sommer, Leon forward, didn't get much of a look in, but he can score. She can score goals if she gets the right kind of service. Amandine Henry, wonderful midfield player. She had a lot of touches on the ball, but they need to definitely find a cutting edge if they're going to be a threat. I feel if the World Cup goes for Australia the way I think it will, I think there'll be a rematch of Australia-France in the quarterfinals.
Well, let's talk the Matildas. They've got a mature age list, which is obviously peaking for this tournament.
Yep.
It's been a long-range goal for them, given that it's on home soil. They're in form. They've won 11 of 14. How good are the Matildas?
Look, I've in the Telegraph today, I think there's a lift out and I think it was in the Telegraph and around the country and the mastheads, the Herald Sun, Courier Mail, that I've tipped them to win it. I really get a feeling, and interesting, only one host nation has ever won the Women's World Cup, but I think Australia can do it. I think on the back of the home support, and as you mentioned, they've won 11 out of their last 14 games. That was after a run where they'd probably won 3 out of 14. So they've turned it around at the right time. They've beaten 2 top 10 nations in their last 2 games. They beat England in England, and then they came here and they beat France 1-0. Now, England ranked 2 or 3. I think they're ranked 2nd in the world. France ranked 5. Australia are ranked 10. So they've beaten quite comfortably, I would add, those 2 teams leading into this competition. I think their group, Canada, they've got all sorts of problems, the Olympic gold medalists. They did beat us last year, but they were ravaged with injuries and internal problems. And I think Ireland, look at the odds for Ireland even scoring a goal at the World Cup. I think a couple of their experts are not expecting them to score. Nigeria, are a good side, but I think tactically we'll get them. I think we need to top our group, and I think we'll do that. Now, if we top our group, Matty, and get 3 wins, I think we'll get 3 wins, 2 wins and a draw at the very least. I think that will build the confidence and the momentum for the Matildas, and I think they can go all the way and win this tournament. My tip is to meet them. If they finish top of the group, they should play Denmark round of 16, France quarterfinals, into the semis, and I think they'll meet the USA in the final. That's my tip. Of course, it's only a tip, and I tip Sam Kerr. If Australia are going to go deep, they're going to need goals from her, and she'll end up with the golden boot.
Well, you've beautifully done there, Robbie, because the time was against us. My final question was going to be who's going to win the golden boot, but we can get Sam Kerr about $11 to win that, in Australia to at least get to the 70s, $2.70. I'm absolutely rapt that you're confident that this can be the tournament where Australia can go deep and make that final because the TV numbers and we know that the sellout crowds they're going to get, but it's going to put the Matildas on the map in this country if they're not already there. Mate, enjoy the tournament. Let's hope we can talk soon and go Matildas.
100%, Matty. Absolute pleasure.
That's Robbie Slater. I hope you've enjoyed our little Fox Sports Lab look at the Women's World Cup. What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.